Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video here. Just a recent finds video, stuff that's come in over the past since the last video. Um, First of all, though, hope you guys had a good New Year's and a great Merry Christmas. Hope things went smooth. At the very least, 2021 rang in smooth. Even though everything's not over, still kind of nice just to be past 2020. I mean, geez Louise. So yeah, hope you guys and your families are all doing okay. Um, yeah, I mean, kind of starting the new year. Like again, kind of have some new things that have kind of come in. Haven't been working as much on a regular schedule at the shops, so it's kind of nice that this week I'll get back into kind of my regular routine of going to both the shops. Um, Make sure again you kind of check out, kind of what's going on there too, because there's been a lot of new stuff that's been coming in over the holidays and all of that. So musicrecordshop.com, make sure to go check that out. I know there's been a ton of stuff that's kind of been coming in there. um, yeah, so obviously I always talk about how great a place it is, or else I wouldn't be working there, be such good friends with the owner. But a couple of thousand pieces, I believe, that are listed online right now, and all that good stuff, the autograph stuff, everything else. So make sure you check that out at musicrecordshop.com. And then also, of course, the one and only Mr. Billy Hurst. Actually, Riverbend Records. You know, just open. It's been open now, I guess, just over 2 months, I think, and it's been killing it the whole way too. So it's been going absolutely great. And even though he doesn't have his online store up, I keep wanting to reiterate this. Make sure you follow him, Riverbend Records, on Twitter as well as on Facebook, because he constantly does flip videos of new stuff that he gets in. And of course, people knowing him here in the VC, if there's really nice pieces that you want to get your hands on and that type of thing, contact him. He's Billy. So make sure you subscribe to him on Facebook and Twitter, I believe. So at Riverbend Records again. So yeah, let me just kind of dive in and share some of the things that have come in. And I'm sorry about this lighting; it's doing something really weird tonight and kind of fading in and out. And even though the freaking lights are like right in my face, I can barely see. So I apologize about that, but screw it. It's about the music, not about the absolute perfect video. Let's kind of start with this one here, which is The Church. This is their 1990 album, Gold Afternoon Fix. I actually did not know that they had issued this on vinyl, so it was kind of nice to stumble across this old record store day piece that was still laying around at a local shop. I love The Church, one of those bands from, I guess, most well-known in the 80s from their big hit, Under the Milky Way, which probably is my favorite track by them. It really kind of sums up everything they did well. But for those maybe that don't even know them much beyond that, I mean, I think they had, and don't quote me on this, but I think it was something like 10, 12, maybe plus studio albums. Like, they put out a ton of stuff. And they were one of those bands that kind of had what I refer to as an AC/DC effect, where they had all of these albums, and you can take almost any song off of any album and move it to another one, and it's not completely out of place over years and years and years, from going from one decade to the next and all that kind of stuff. So really, really great band. Highly recommend them. And this is just one more of their pieces that I've wanted blah blah blah. I didn't know it was out there, but as soon as I saw it, of course I wanted it in my collection. But again, if you don't know them, some of the first songs I would recommend checking out is definitely Under the Milky Way, and the second one I would say maybe is Fly. I think that's a fantastic track too, that really sums up what makes them great to me. But yeah, really, really cool stuff there. So I kind of like to describe them as take Jesus and the Mary Chain, like Psycho Candy, Jesus and Mary Chain, but take down a lot, if not almost all, of the heavy, thick fuzz, and make Jesus and the Mary Chain maybe a little more popish, and you kind of get The Church. Not sure if this was in here. I actually showed this one in the last video, I think. Alright, so the next one here, which was an awesome find, was this bad boy right here, which is Danzig II. as you can see, in fantastic condition. But before your jaws completely hit the ground, let me pick it back up, because this is not an original pressing. Okay, so yeah, I did not find an OG pressing in this type of condition. Matter of fact, oddly enough, this is the first unofficial, I guess unofficial slash bootleg pressing that I've ever knowingly purchased in all my years of buying records. I've never been a fan of bootlegs. I just don't like them. I do have like 4 or so in my collection, but even those, kind of like the Jar of Flies by Alice in Chains, I was in DC and I bought it in this shop, and it was in their new vinyl arrivals. It was, new and shrink, blah blah blah. So I grab it and then get home, and by the time I look it up in Discogs and realize it's an unofficial pressing, I'm like, that's kind of crap. Just throw something like that inside of your, new vinyl and blah blah blah. So it kind of pissed me off. But whole different discussion. But yeah, I've never knowingly purchased an unofficial or bootleg type of pressing. But as you guys know, who wants these things, I mean, even a OG in a horrible condition is still hard to come by, and still expensive too. So the pressing sounds fantastic, and again, everything's just in fantastic shape, and I was able to pick that up, and it's just kind of an awesome album. So I do have the first Danzig album on vinyl, and I actually have a promo copy of that, which is mint condition, which is definitely one of my treasures. But yeah, it's nice to finally add a little Danzig II to it as well, and it really is a really, really good album. Loved it. So, hey, I'll take that bootleg. I'm officially in the bootleg club. And we'll go right from Danzig to this little sweetheart, Vanessa Carlton. And of course, this is Be Not Nobody from 2002. Yeah, 2002. I was kind of surprised to see this on vinyl. It's just one of those popular albums from, the 2000s, and you just don't expect always to see that stuff on vinyl. So when I saw it pop up, I was like, oh yeah, cheesy. Songs like 1,000 Miles are so cliche within so many movies and everything like that. But I don't care. It's a track that I like. I mean, I think it's catchy. I think the whole nine. And as you guys know, when it comes to what Mr. Hall of Fame brings in here, if I can talk to myself in third person, is that second person, third person, whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't care if it's cheesy, if it's stupid, if it's cool, if it's whatever in between. If it rings good in my ear, I'm all about it. And this album has a number of really good tracks on it, so I was kind of happy to finally, and I shouldn't say finally, 'cause I didn't even know there was a pressing out there. So it was just nice to stumble across that and grab a little Vanessa Carlton. Here we have Bob Marley and the Wailers, and this is Catch a Fire. And this again is that 75th anniversary Abbey Road Studios half-speed masters. I don't think I talked about this yet, because I think it was the last video I did where I picked up a copy of Babylon Bus on the 75th anniversary Abbey Road half-speed remastered. And Babylon Bus is one of the few live albums that I actually like, 'cause I'm not a big fan of live albums. But that's always been a pretty good sounding album that really kind of captures the Wailers live. But that pressing, I'll put it to you this way, because I think I said this to Billy too. I think that's probably the best sounding pressing of any album I've ever played the entire time I've been collecting and listening to vinyl. I don't think I've ever had a record that sounded better than that 75th anniversary Babylon Bus. So after that, I kind of thought, well, maybe it's just because their record sounds kind of good anyway. Let me try one of the others. So I picked up, Catch a Fire, and sure as crap, it sounds amazing. There really is something to this Abbey Road half-speed mastering on these particular albums. Sounds fantastic. So then, of course, with that being said, I had to, try Burning as well, and the same thing sounded wonderful. So I just kind of decided. So I've held off on buying a lot of Marley stuff, especially reissue stuff, for quite some time, hoping to maybe someday get the box set that came out. And I'm so glad that I didn't, because these 75th anniversaries are going to comprise pretty much my entire Bob Marley collection. So even at the shop, I put 4 or 5 others on order to come in because I want to get every single one of those because they just sound so freaking amazing. And I'm usually not one that talks a lot about, pressings and that. I mean, maybe from a collection standpoint, I'll talk about Mo-Fi or Japanese and that type of thing. But I'm usually not one that comes on and rants about sound all the time, unless something's like really horrible. Because I just like all my stuff very clean, condition-wise. I'm extremely picky and all that good stuff. But really, that Babylon bus, I keep going back to that. That's just one that just completely blew my mind. And I was like, I can't even recall any of my Mo-Fi pressings or Japanese pressings or German pressings or anything that has sounded as good as that did. So, again, says something for me to even mention or talk about it in that way. Moving right along, I kind of a basic piece here. The Beatles one of these for quite some time, and one finally came into the shop the other day, so I thought, got some credit hanging out there, so let me go ahead and grab it. But just a very basic, the typical hits that everyone kind of knows about with that one, which is really as far as I go with the Beatles anyway, because you guys know my stance with them. Stranger, another really cool album from 1982. I had heard like one track off of this album before that I kind of liked, but never really heard it all the way through. So it was really nice when this came in and was able to actually give it a spin. And it's a really great album. Billy and I actually were both listening to it. And the one thing that he remarked about it, and the same thing that stood out to me, is there's some really good guitar licks that are in on this album, and a really great guitar tone, just in terms of the tone. I think where this album kind of, I'm not gonna say slipped, but could have done better. So it came out in 1982, and I honestly think that this exact same album would have been put together in the studio, producing, being remastered, and blah blah, or being mastered, blah blah blah, in the late 80s, as opposed to the early 80s. It probably would have been a little bit bigger than it was. And I definitely think maybe the lead singer is kind of the weak link but anyway. But yeah, I mean, so it definitely had that sound of like, this is what the 80s is going to bring with hair metal and glam metal and things like that. It just wasn't quite producing that sound yet. But like I said, if you'd have given this to Bob Rock in 87, 88 and kind of took these guys in the studio and really hammered it out, it could have been a pretty big album, but it's just a very solid kind of hard rock type of album. Just a quickie here. Helen, Reddy, I Am Woman. Been wanting a mint copy of this and kind of waiting for one to show up, so it was kind of nice when one did pop up, but just a very basic, softy kind of, I don't know if I say it's folk or whatever, that's probably the section I'll put it in. Let's see. And let's go to a little hip hop here. Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. It Takes Two. One of the more, well-known. This goes back to my high school days and everything as well. Again, another album that I've waited for quite some time to get in my collection. Not an expensive album. Not really one that's hard to find. Just finding one in good condition is sometimes a little bit of a challenge. So they got beat up pretty well, but nice to grab that. Let's see. Go with a couple albums from the Styx. Here you have, again, sorry about the lighting there, Styx II. And as you can see, this cover is a little bit different than the one that you probably are more used to seeing, which is the very colorful one, like a turquoise bluish type of color, something like that, has a car on the front of it. This is the German pressing of Styx II. Really neat album by them as well, because this is always the album when I listen to it, it gives me that vibe of like the Styx not being 100% sure exactly what direction they were going. Like, are we going to be a little more progressive rock? Are we going to take progressive rock and be a little more kind of popish with it? Like, yeah, I feel like I can sense that back and forth in this album, which to me makes it kind of neat. It could just all be crap I'm making up in my head, but I feel like I hear it there. But yeah, a very nice German pressing there of Styx II, and a very nice copy of Styx Equinox here as well. So the Styx box set, I mean, it actually sounds pretty good. I think it's 75 to 84 are the albums that are in there. So I think this one's included in that. But I have just, if I'm finding mint ones here and there, I like picking up the original pressings of these as well. So this is kind of a nice one to add to that. And not my favorite. Well, I take that back. There's no gigantic hits or one particular song I go to on this album. This is more of a throw it on and just kind of experience Styx from front to back kind of album. Little Tom Petty here, Wildflowers, another great pickup. Yeah, I mean, when these came out, like, they sold quick as can be. And so I just kind of assumed for quite some time, I'm just not going to get a copy of it. But yeah, they had some more that kind of came in stock, which was nice. And so I decided to pick one up the other day. And this is from 1994. I think this was like Petty's, was it his second album without the Heartbreakers or something? Again, I'm not that versed in all that history, but I think it was something like that, second or third album solo. And yeah, I mean, definitely a good work without question. Not necessarily my favorite album by him, but songs like You Don't Know How It Feels, It's Good to Be King were kind of some of the bigger hits off this album. But nice 3 LP set, and definitely glad to finally have that on vinyl. Next, let's see what we're going to go with next here. Crash Test Dummies. Again, sorry about the light changing on you there. God Shuffled His Feet. You guys remember this from 1993. Obviously the big hit off of this was the MMM song. Stupid way we used to refer to it back when I was in college. But yeah, it was kind of neat to see that they pressed this on vinyl, because I didn't know that they were available right now from a reissue standpoint. And yeah, so one came in the shop the other day, decided to go ahead and pick it up. Definitely a creative album. It was certainly different than what was going on at the time, especially using What's His Name and kind of that deep, bass, baritone, whatever it is, kind of voice that he used. That just wasn't something that people were quite doing at the time, and it made it unique, and it's kind of a fun, different little album. So that was a great pickup. Little core piece here, little U2, 18, just basically greatest hits, 18 the singles, and much like their other ones too. I mean, I kind of like the way they've done their greatest hits albums, because they really do kind of skip all over the place. Where you have everything here from Beautiful Day to I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, and then going up through Vertigo, then back to New Year's Days, back up to Mysterious Ways, One, Desire. So they're really kind of skipping all over the place in terms of their catalog, which is kind of nice. So if you don't have a lot of U2 period, if you get your hands on just their 3 greatest hits albums, I mean, you have a pretty good selection of kind of the bigger stuff. So, and even though I have most of those studio albums on vinyl, I do love picking up those greatest hits just to kind of, sometimes when you're spinning, you just want to kind of throw something on and just listen. You don't want to, so greatest hits albums are oftentimes, for me, really nice to do the whole throw it on, let it spin, get all the good stuff, and just kind of enjoy bands when they were at their peaks. Billy Idol, Rebel Yell. You guys know I rant and rave about this album all the time. First album I ever bought out of a store. Loved it to death, to me to this day. On and on. So I actually got this because this is an original German pressing of this album. So just anytime I find different versions of this, It's one of those albums, one of the few albums that I pick up multiple versions of, and there really is maybe only 4 or so albums that I have 2, 3, 4 different versions of. I did that for a while with Metallica and some other things, but even I got rid of most of that. But Billy Idol's Rebel Yell is definitely one. So it's nice to find this beautiful near mint German press. And everyone knows the hits off of here, like Rebel Yell, Eyes Without a Face, maybe Flesh for Fantasy was kind of one. But even some of the more B-side tracks, like Do Not Stand in the Shadow, Crank Call, Dead Next Door, stuff like that. This album is just freaking awesome from front to back, which is why I love Billy so much. And another piece that I needed in my Billy collection, which was Vital Idol. Oh no, I'm sorry, Whiplash Smile. Getting ahead of myself there. So a nice, beautiful copy of that. Thought it was always neat too how Billy did the numbering on the sides on his album. His first album is side 1 and side 2. And I think it was Rebel Yell that was 3 and 4. Yeah, you can see on the back there, Rebel Yell is side 3 and 4, and then Whiplash Smile was side 5 and 6. I always thought that was kind of neat. So none of his gigantic hits on this one, but it's just Billy doing his Billy thing, which is awesome. Absolutely love Billy Idol. What next? Let's switch gears into a little bit of country. My boy McGraw, Tim McGraw here. This is Machine, which is another greatest hits, 2013 to 2019. Really great album, a great play off of that Walmart exclusive greatest hits that he released, because there's only 1 or 2 songs that actually cross over on those 2 albums. Excuse me. And so, I love Tim McGraw. Definitely one of my favorite current country artists. McGraw, Luke Bryan, Eric Church. Those are kind of my boys there. But McGraw, again, just like other guys I named too, but especially him. Chesney, I guess is another one I can kind of throw in there. But just the way he just sings about real life, I just love it. Like, his stuff is just so moving to me. So one of my favorite songs on here is Humble and Kind. I think that's a great one. But yeah, I think I said this when I got his other greatest hits album. One of the things about McGraw is you can take a nice little collection of his greatest hits and put them together, and it's almost one of those things where you can take in hand to your son and say, hey, listen to this, take it in, live up to what you're hearing in these songs, and you're pretty much guaranteed your son's going to grow up to be an amazing man. It's kind of like, that's what Tim brings to the table, and I freaking love it. So that was a great addition there. And then my boy Luke Bryan, I have to share that too. Why do I feel like I showed this in the last video? I don't think I did. But this was kind of a nice issue of this 10th anniversary. Doing my thing. Good album. I definitely like it. Of his albums, it's not my favorite, which I still cannot figure out why they haven't pressed Tailgates and Tan Lines yet, which is, I think, without question, his best album. But how they got to this first, it kind of blows my mind a little bit. But still, Luke is one of my boys. Love him to death. So glad that when any of his stuff is actually put out on vinyl. And kind of last on kind of the countryside, Brandi Carlile. By the way, I Forgive You. Great album. Kind of an interesting album too, because this is another one of those albums that when you throw it on, for me, there's not one song that comes across as just being so amazing. This really is more so about you put it on from front to back and you really enjoy the experience and the emotions that you felt listening and going through this album. So it's not even that the songs are so fantastic, it's just the feel of the album is so fantastic. So great piece there. Check her out if you've never heard that album before. And then just like 4 remaining pieces here. I can flash through some of these kind of quick. School Days, Spike Lee soundtrack. You know, it has the song "Da Butt" by EU, probably the biggest hit off of this. But for those of you back in the '90s who remember that movie, and actually '88, I'm sorry, a little further back than that. So nice to find that soundtrack. Usually one hard to find in good shape again because of the black cover. Just kind of a couple OG pressings that I picked up just to add to the collection. REO Speedwagon, and I think this one's called. I think this one actually is called REO Speedwagon from 1971. Before they kind of really went their popish route, because this had what's his name is the lead singer, uh, to Terry Luthero, I think was. Oh, Latrell. I'm sorry, putting the H in there. Yeah, the back when he was the lead singer. So, but they also have REO here, and again, it's just kind of a this is one of those albums that you just don't oftentimes find just in absolute near mint condition. At least I don't stumble across either one of these. So when they came in, I had to pick those up. But just kind of some early REO there. And the last two, you got Toto 4, another great pickup. And again, I have a very nice music on vinyl pressing of this, but when I saw, this original 1982 US pressing and I saw it in that condition, I was like, you just do not stumble across these things like that. Just had to pick it up. So, again, I'm sure most people really know this album very well. Of course, the gigantic hit was Africa, but definitely a number of good tracks on here. Kind of a creative album, too. You get so locked up in the song Africa, you just expect kind of, if you don't know the album very well, you expect it just to kind of be one big long, like 80s cliche type of album. But they really do have some creative stuff on this when you really start getting into the B-sides and everything too. So great album there. And last but not least, the one and only, the Cranberries. And this, of course, is Dreams, the collection. For a single LP, greatest hits, it's a decent album. I mean, of course, you get the gigantic hits with Linger, Dreams, and Zombie, which are probably and When You're Gone, But there's also some other good tracks there too, such as Salvation, Promises, Just My Imagination, a few other things there as well. So for a single LP, kind of greatest hits, not too bad at all. And I mean, not to mention, I just love her voice to death. I mean, I can never get tired of listening to her voice, which is why, even though songs like Linger is probably one of the most just played out, and again, from the standpoint of the Cranberries, more of one of their kind of cliche, common, everyone knows, the one song that got beat into your head, I never get tired of listening to that song. Her voice just makes me melt every time I hear that song. It never gets old after all these years. So nice little LP there as well. And I guess I was bold for this too. Did grab one deluxe CD, which is the Scorpions Love at First Sting. Really nice piece there. 2 CD DVD set. You have the studio album with a few bonus tracks, and there's a live CD, and then there's a DVD with videos and stuff like that as well. So it's nice to finally pick up I haven't picked up a deluxe CD in quite some time, so that was a good pickup as well. So, that's all the stuff that's kind of come in over the past few weeks or whatever the case may be. So now that I'll be back to working on kind of a regular basis, I'm sure there'll be some more stuff kind of coming in. But yeah, as always, kind of let me know what you think. Let me know what you guys would like to see as well. I mean, of course, I like sharing new stuff that comes in and kind of telling you what I think about it and that type of thing. But I would also like to maybe have things a little more interactive. So if there are some specific things you'd like to see in my collection, or just questions you'd like for me to answer or something like that, just kind of leave a comment down there below, and maybe kind of give me some ideas of some other things to add to some future videos, or not only doing videos just when new arrivals come in too, because I would like to kind of get back to interacting with you guys a bit more, even though I'm not spending as much time on YouTube. But yeah, once again, hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. Hope you guys had a safe New Year, and do everything you can to make this year better than 2021. even if it's just making some other people's lives easier. You know, that alone tends to do positive things. So thanks for watching, VC, and we will talk to you soon.